we gonna have a good time and keep you in the know. Let all your trouble go. In the know, in the know, in the know. In the know, in the know, in the know. In the know, in the know, in the know. In the know.
Live in the studio for another In the Know radio show. Got a good one lined up for you guys. I know some of y'all getting ready for the Florida-Georgia game. I already know. And it's a beautiful day too, so that tailgating I know it's gonna be lit. Oh man. That's Robbie. So how many books have you written total?
So, I've just worked on these two.
Okay.
So my co-author for these works was a young woman, was a military spouse that I mentored when I was in the city of Killeen, Texas, and we would just have conversations.
Yeah.
And everybody would say, "You need to write a book. You need to write a book." But I was like, I'm not gonna plagiarize. I'm sharing experiences and things based on what things that I've experienced. But that's other people's work.
Right.
And so she called me one day and she was like, "Hey, check your email." And she almost had sent a complete manuscript of the conversations that we had been having. And the conversations that we had been having became this book.
Wow.
Yeah, so,
I love that.
Yeah.
Collaboration is the best.
Absolutely. And so as I was reading the manuscript, I was like, wow, I said that.
Yeah. That came from me. I need to read it for me. Yeah. I love that.
Because I think I said, I almost spit written. So when it come, it go. Yes. But she captured it. So I appreciate that.
Yes. Hey, Tina. I love you, my sister. We are due for a visit. I need to come to Atlanta very soon. She's playing the wrong song. We had to get the song right, y'all. Had the wrong opening song. We had to get it right.
Join us for In the Know with Michellita coming to you live from the studios of the Bigger Station.
Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. Happy November. Is it just me? Or does it feel like these last 3 months had somewhere to be? Okay. It is November 2nd. Beautiful Saturday afternoon here in Jacksonville, Florida. I don't know where you're listening from, but hopefully you are enjoying this beautiful day as well. And thank you for taking an hour out of your day to tune into the In the Know radio show. Hey, we've been on this journey for about 3 months now. I'm so incredibly honored and excited to be able to be here and to bring guests every week to inform you, to inspire you, and to entertain you as well. Today will be nothing short of what you can expect from all the previous Saturdays. I have an incredible guest that's in the studio with us today. But before we get into it, just a couple of things I want to make mention on this November 2nd Saturday. It's Florida-Georgia weekend here in Jacksonville, Florida. Do I say go Gators? Oh, Or do I say go dogs? I'm not really sure, but I'm glad that we are here in Jacksonville hosting this incredible event every Saturday. Hopefully you're having some fun with your family and friends. Make sure you are being safe. And again on this day, you know, I like to talk about some of the national holidays. And one that I thought was so befitting today is National Play Outside Day. What a perfect day. I think it's about 82 degrees already. So if you're not playing outside yet, do something outside today with your family, with your friends, and of course the kids. Tons of parks here in Jacksonville that you can visit and have some fun with them today on this National Play Outside Day. But as we are in the month of November, there's so many things that we can celebrate and so many things that we can be grateful for. And many of those things include our veterans. Yes, Veterans Day is on next Monday, November the 11th, I believe. And so many of us, especially here in Jacksonville, we are fortunate to have so many individuals that have served in our military, and we thank you so much for your service, and we're so grateful that we're able to celebrate you here on today. But before we talk about our guests, I want to pay homage to a military vet, a very, very notable human being that lived here in Jacksonville, Florida, who made a tremendous impact on our community, especially with our girls. She was a dear friend of mine. It is difficult to even say was. She will live forever in my heart. Her name is Robbie Roberts. Robbie Roberts was a dear, dear woman in this community. She was in the Air Force. She was a master sergeant with 21 years of service. And in the service, she served as a command center operator, and she retired from Andrews Air Force Base. Miss Robbie, we love you so much. She also was a pioneer with one of the founders for Holy Girls Rock. She mentored hundreds of girls throughout Jacksonville and Northeast Florida. She was the most giving, kind, considerate, funny, just such a lovable human being. And I just wanted to pay honor to her on today. But now let's get into it with our guest that's here in the studio. I had the esteemed privilege of meeting him about 2 weeks ago at Mixed Theory Studios. Shout out to Mixed Theory Studios, and was a guest on his podcast. And he is none other than Tavares Bethel. Tavares Bethel is originally from Miami, Florida. After dropping out of high school in 1993, Tavares secured his GED from Bibb County Adult Education Center in Macon, Georgia. In September of 2000, Tavares joined the United States Army and served honorably, retiring in the rank of First Sergeant after 21 years, 4 months, and 18 days. Listen, every day counts. During his tenure in service, Tavares completed his secondary education, earning a bachelor's degree in organizational leadership from Columbia Southern University. He served 2 years in Iraq, 1 tour in Kuwait, several operational deployments to Korea and Germany. He also assisted in the establishment of the Wounded Warrior Program, which assisted soldiers wounded in the War on Terror. After completing his tenure of service, Tavares was onboarded by Earth's largest global retailer, Amazon. He currently serves as an operations manager for Amazon Jax 5. Since retiring, Tavares has co-authored 2 books, How to Become a Six-Figure Earner and The Legend of the Black Wizard. Both books are available on Amazon. Wherever you are, clap it up, snap it up for my guest, Tavares.
Thank you so much, Michellita. It's an honor. It's an honor and a privilege to have the opportunity to be here with you today. It's an honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to share a little bit of my experience with your listeners. I'm honored, and I'm so excited. And as we shared during our recording for the Slide podcast.
You know, and that's the one thing that's not in your bio.
I know.
Isn't that something?
It's such a new experience for me, right? That you know, it's kind of like owning it and embracing it.
Yeah.
But yes, we do have a podcast that we call the Slide. Like you said, shout out to Mixed Theory Studios, Shannon and Jesus Favar, for kind of guiding me through this process and this new journey in my life. Thank you.
Man, and you know, me being on his show, as the current, you know I'm gonna do it, the current Miss Black Jacksonville USA, competing next week. Y'all pray for me, okay? The pageant is next week. I will be going to secure the crown for Miss Black Florida USA 2024-2025. I'm just putting it out there Thank you for your prayers. But in his podcast, we talked about education, and you now being a civilian, you were able to really kind of talk about some of the needs, some of the differences, and just some things that we need to be mindful of as we continue in the progression of education for our young people. But let's talk about your podcast, and why is it that you actually started it?
Well, when we had originally started the podcast, we looked out into society and we wanted to be able to give voice to individuals that, are often shunned, the low socioeconomic demographic, individuals that are new to the employment and earning cycle, new parents. As a host of the podcast, what I wanted to do was be able to afford individuals the opportunity to critically think about education, politics, economics, and then that critical component that we lack in our community, and that's our connection with our low socioeconomic demographic, or the streets. Right? I'm an individual from the streets, but I had the blessed opportunity to experience individuals that helped me acquiesce into higher levels of understanding, individuals that reached down and pulled me up. And I remember uniquely, one morning I was going for a run with a gentleman. He was from Alabama, Staff Sergeant Sean Maurice Carter, who retired as a first sergeant. Shout out to Sean. And we were running one morning, and I wanted to give up, man. It was really, really a hard run. We were going for about 6 miles. And he looked at me, he said, if you quit, who is going to be there for somebody like you? I couldn't stop. That was profound for me. So our podcast generally is to be there for individuals like us, to provide them with the opportunity to hear, consider something different, and then make a decision to do something different, because we don't have to stay doing whatever we're doing right now. We don't have to remain in that same condition. We can change.
It's so interesting because the theme race for me keeps coming up these last 24 hours. You just said it. This is the third time I heard it about race, and I actually posted about it, and some of you can probably resonate with this, but in the Bible there's a scripture that gives tone to the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong, but to the one that endureth to the end. So it's not about being fast, it's not about being strong, it's about that endurance. And that endurance is so necessary for the next person that we're either to give back to, or in your case, receive from, because all of us are in a relay. Sometimes we can't determine which position we're going to be playing in that relay, but we do have a job to do, which is to stay in the race. That's so whenever we get to our finish line, that next person that we're passing the baton to is ready to receive that. So I love that. We are in a race. Come on. Endure. It's like the tortoise and the hare. Okay, we carrying some things on our back, but as long as we keep moving, we're gonna get to that. So I'm so grateful that you have that podcast, and I especially love that you're so passionate about our community, Jacksonville. Listen, he's not from Jacksonville, y'all. Right. But when I say he loves Jacksonville, he loves this city, and that's so refreshing as one who's from the city to hear, someone who isn't, to love our city so much. Tell us why you love Jacksonville so much, and what benefit has it played in the part of your podcast thus far? If
you're not doing anything today, just get on from wherever you are, navigate to Lem Turner and drive down Trout River and just watch the way the sun shines through the trees. Yeah. Look at the water and the rivers. Look, Jacksonville as a river city. This is a beautiful place. The largest city in the United States by geographical landmass. About 1 million residents, equally broken down across the demographic. The opportunities here are so immense, but it's just a beautiful. Jacksonville reminds me of the Miami I grew up in. Now, Miami, we know it's a melting pot. It's so diverse, but I didn't grow up in diverse Miami. I grew up in black and white Miami, right? And the people were different. They were raw. It was like they were untethered. And so when I'm in Jacksonville, even though, it may seem, very difficult, and, I say this very, very carefully, because I know that a lot of individuals in this city have been gripped by some of the violence that plagues this city. Yeah. But in that sickness or in that violence is an opportunity for amazing growth. Yeah. If we seize the opportunity as leaders and then attend to the needs, because the violence is a cry from the low socioeconomic demographic for recognition, support, and assistance. So, sometimes we have to ride down and do what we have to do, in order to be able to maintain peace and balance. Right. But if we can see it for the beauty that it is, and that's what Jacksonville represents to me. It's a beautiful opportunity to reestablish life post-military, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world other than Jacksonville, Florida.
And the contributions don't have to be large. It's
Right.
really whatever you feel the passion for, because it's really the small different contributions that build to larger things. So wherever you are in your community, whatever needs you see, if it's giving food, if it's, opening up for some child care, whatever that need may be, I would just encourage that person to really take advantage of that. And I love that you talked about, you're preparing to talk about how you were able to transition. So can you share just a couple of challenges that you faced while adjusting to civilian life after retiring from the military? I've never been in the military. I would never even try to understand cognitively what that is like. But what are some of those adjustments?
Wow. So when you think about military service, you have a lot of different type of veterans, right? And so we have some veterans that had a very traumatic experience and require a different level of support. We have some veterans that had an amazing experience and are using that experience to give back. We have a larger group of veterans that are in that muddled middle, had a service period, and are trying to discover what they can do. The military does as best of a job as they can to provide support and guidance for individuals during that transition. But for me, you got to realize the military is a draconian environment with total control and a captive population of individuals. Only 0.46% of the individuals in the United States of America participate in military service. I say that again, 0.46 percentage of the country participate in the profession of arms in a country that has a population of upwards close to 350 million people. Only 0.46% of the individuals have opportunity to take advantage of those unique experiences. As a result of that, there aren't enough programs that allow individuals to migrate back into the civilian sector and operate in their power space. There's a program in the military or in the United States Army, and I'm sure that every branch has something similar, called Soldiers for Life Transition Assistance. During that process, they kind of help you understand the lexicon of the military and how it correlates to what you will do and experience as a civilian. Now, for me, my particular story, I was at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, during my last year of service. And I was allowed by my organizational leaders to obtain a job. I worked at Gap Distribution Facility in Gallatin, Tennessee. I wanted to have an opportunity to work in the civilian sector. So, because I was really, really nervous about that transition. I was nervous about what I was going to be able to earn, what I needed to do. And as I was going through that process of learning how to write a resume, mind you, 21 years, I hadn't sought a job. Right. And in seeking the job, it was more so about relationships, right? On to be able to secure those positions in order to get the position that you need in order to develop your own career.
Not to mention some of the external changes that have happened that you may not even be abreast to.
Absolutely.
The culture changes.
Yes.
The methods of communication. I mean, as humans, so many different things, not to make military feel like imprisonment, but in terms of the separation,
yes.
I can see how that can be a challenge.
And not to, there is a strong correlation between a life in prison and a life in the military because it's institutionalization, right? So now when I made the decision to join the military, the decision that what I was deciding between was prison and the military. My options were slim. So I picked the military as an institution. However, as I was on my transition out, I was with a young lady, we were doing a resume, and she asked me, she said, First Sergeant, how much money do you need to make when you retire? And to which I probably at least $80,000 to be able to maintain my quality of life. And I know I'm gonna get veterans retirement and some disability money, but I need about $80,000 to have a quality of life. She said, "Oh my God," she said, "you're setting the standard a little too high. Most service members in their first year post-military only earn $50,000 a year." Wow. Okay, so I have children, right? The way my life set up and the way my child support set up, 50 bands is not gonna cut it. And so I walked out of her office determined to be able to prove to myself that I would be able to outperform her projection, right? Because I know my value, I know my worth. Unfortunately, a lot of individuals that exit military service don't really understand their relative worth in the civilian sector because, like you said, it's so dynamic and so many changes. We just don't know how we fit. And so we have to be able to figure out how those skills translate, and then we got to think about it. And we ain't even started to talk about the trauma that you experienced in the military. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So now you're putting trauma on top of experiences, on top of a lack of information, which makes it difficult for the veteran to find themselves. Now there are a few, and I know that we experience individuals such as my battle buddy, who you just so eloquently alluded to her contribution to our environment here in the city of Jacksonville. And Godspeed to Master Sergeant Robbie Roberts. You know, anyone who serves in the military, and when you start talking about somebody who attains the rank of Master Sergeant, that's a different level of education as well, right? And it's in that level that individuals discover how to return to normalcy.
And so you sound kind of like an exception, like you're an exceptional civilian, because your thought process on where I'm going when I leave out of this military service, how can it translate? You don't sound like the norm in terms of thinking, which raises the flag of why what you're doing is so instrumental and important, because there are so many people who are now civilians who have served, who have those skills and have kind of undercut what their abilities are. So that says a lot as individually as it stands. So with your podcast, and y'all can tell he's a podcaster, can't you? Isn't it great? I'm learning so much already.
Thank you.
How did your experiences in the military help shape the way that you approach your storytelling? Because with the podcast and with some of the content that you're actually sharing, the way that you weave in your experience to giving it to a guest and really building upon it, how has that actually evolved?
When I joined the United States Army, I had no idea what I would experience. I made a conscious decision to go. I was an older guy when I went. I had different mentors in my life that kind of poured some information into me as a child. Like I grew up on the square. You know what I'm saying? Like I got raised when I was 19. One of my closest friends is one of the younger sons of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Like I've had the Dean of Ministers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, may God be pleased with Lucius Bial. I've had so many men in my life, right? And then my father, you know, at one time for Fred Bethel, whether that guy there, that'd have to be a whole show. But going through military training and development, you know, from the professional leader development course or the primary leadership development course, the advanced non-commissioned officer course, the senior non-commissioned officer course, and then the first sergeant or the senior leaders course, you know, and the master's leaders course. It's so much education, right? And so as you go through that process, you deploy a few times and you begin the process of becoming a leader. What we learn or discover is how to plan, how to lead, how to motivate, how to do those things. And then you get the experiences that are associated with being able to solidify the experience, because I have a captive population of people that I have the pleasure of having an opportunity to practice this with. Right. So you know, during my tenure in service, I've served as a senior instructor at the 8th United States Army Whiteman Non-Commissioned Officer Academy, Academy of Excellence. I had an opportunity to be a leader at, you know, at so many different levels. We've talked to thousands of people. So
you've had a lot of foundation and a lot of pre-work to be able to tailor how you want to be able to convey these different messages and experiences in the forms of stories, which is so incredible. Listen, I learned a lot today about the military. I'm honored, because always when I hear of someone who has served, thank you for your service. And I mean it. Sometimes I'm sure you probably, I hear you. It's almost monotonous, but we should never, ever, whenever we give that type of allegiance to a person who has served, make it something that is of monotony, but we should really, in the tone of honor, be able to convey that grace to them. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to listen to one of my favorite songs, because during this particular month, and we're honoring veterans and we're talking about things that people have overcome, we're going to hear a lot of victory songs right now. Okay. So one of the songs that we're going to play right now is Victory by Yolanda Adams. You have the victory, whatever you're in, on the Victory Station, AM 1360, 94.7. As you're listening, know that you are victorious. We'll be right back.
You're a bad girl. Yes, you are.
You know, I'm hoping one day I could be known as the queen of segues. I've been learning that people like, girl, you just know how to tap the thing.
Yeah,
And I give credit to God, because I see it's a visual type of thing for me. Whenever I'm interviewing and I know, okay, I got to get ready to get out and go to a commercial, but I want to make sure that it's a seamless transition. So I'm listening on every single word, and it's like, okay, great, I can add that to this song, and we can go here. There we go. But that's incredible, though. I mean, because again, I say that you're the exception to the rule because you were very intentional with when it was time for you to get out. And I think about, unfortunately, those who are homeless and those who have been wounded. We're talking about the Wounded Warriors Project, who, I guess, at this physical or biological state, they may not be even at the level to think that forward for how they're going to set their lives up. Like, what are some things to be able to curtail that?
So for me, I was very, very scared. Right? It was. Scared is not the most powerful word that you could use to describe what I was experiencing. A sense of anxiety.
It's a relatable word.
Yeah. Scared is a relatable word, but I was the anxiety, the level of anxiety, the fear that existed, and because I wasn't really getting any hits when I was sending out my resume, right? And this was at transition, right? At transition was different from the job that had opportunity to do at Gap Distribution Center. I probably could have continued inside of that job, but that wasn't the job that I needed.
Yeah.
I was sitting on my couch. I was living in Clarksville, Tennessee, and I was sitting on the couch, and I was listening to Joel Osteen. And Joel said, the problem, which is he was relating the story of Simon Peter and how he told Simon Peter, move your boat out into the deep and catch that. He said, Simon Peter could have said, no, I'm a fisherman. You don't know what you're talking about. This isn't the time for fish. He said, but based on your word, he said, I'm going to follow your commandment. He said, and then when he cast the net, so many fish came that the net began to burst.
Right.
He said, your problem is that you're requesting such small things from God that you need to request a net bursting blessing.
Come on here.
Hey, after that, I was like, man.
A God-sized blessing.
Come on.
To make it undeniable.
Exactly.
That it's him. Because he gonna get the credit. So if it's something we can actually produce, he's like, okay, that's of you, but I need your faith to increase. So that way when I come through for you, you can say, look at ain't nobody but
look at God. Come on, man. Hey,
that's huge.
Yeah. And so I got up from there, and I only applied for jobs because at this point I was applying to jobs that I thought I could get.
Yeah.
But I only began to apply for jobs that paid greater than $80,000 because why waste my time talking to people about a job that I really don't intend on having, right? And so in 6 days I was contacted by Amazon and my Amazon recruiter, and within inside of 30 days I was living in Jacksonville, Florida.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, look at God. Hey.
That's incredible.
And to walk through that process.
Yes.
That's why I did the book. That's why I do the podcast. So, because individuals, they hear you say it.
I want us this whole off air. We're gonna go back. We're gonna come back with that.
Yes, ma'am.
I like that, and now because the audience needs to hear that. Bible says faith as a mustard seed is all we need. That faith, but sometimes in the asking with that small faith, it needs to be magnified because it is not just for our, our blessing, but for others to be able to witness, to see what God has actually done. So that's huge. So yeah, we'll talk about that in terms of just the tail end of your transition, how God actually opened that door for you. And then we'll talk about, your books. We'll talk about your books. And then I really want to hit on ways that we can support veterans. What are some practical things that we can do as fellow civilians now to support our veterans, because we know that after coming from the military, it's a for the rest of your life reflection, living and moving and interacting in a way that is different than those who haven't, because there are things that you have to in your mind every single day kind of work through. Just like we said with the trauma, there are things, and we all have experienced some level of trauma, and there are just some self mechanisms and things that we have to do just to kind of like I talked about coming in here grieving, but it's like I know that even in my grieving I can celebrate. That's a strategy that I hear you. I really want to cry, I really want to just gotta be in that corner, but it's like no, I wouldn't be honoring her life if I did that. So as a means of honoring her, I can celebrate and continue to walk out and live out what God has called me to do in this season. So but being able to relate to people in a sensitive type of way, but not in a what's the word that I want to use? Because you don't want to be like, oh, you okay, okay? Like, that's like, I'm good. You know? Not in a pacifying kind of way. That's probably the word I want to use. But in an empowering kind of way. Empowering, practical, and in a supportive way, you know, for our veterans, especially those who we see are in need. So many things.
Now, I'm a military leader, so I may challenge a little bit the way people handle veterans.
Okay.
Right. I'm gonna push a little bit because I know that there's a lot of food closets.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places where they can go and lay up and stay.
Right.
But the United States have invested thousands of dollars into these individuals developing their minds.
Yeah.
Right. And so we can't ignore that. We want to attend to the trauma that's preventing the veteran from using the investment. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And what I don't want to do is continue to contribute to you, just stewing in your dysfunction.
Right.
That we're not going to celebrate your dysfunction. Right. Fall in. It's time to use that, and we see that impacting a group of individuals. But there are also other things that are associated with it that we need to really seriously address, like the medication that they give to the veteran that limits or stunts that growth towards what they have the ability to do. I'm a high school dropout from Carol City, right? And so if I'm doing it, right, I don't really feel a whole bunch of sympathy about you in that situation.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, but someone has to be there to attend to them. So support those entities that can do it.
And we have the victory. That was Victory by Yolanda Adams. And speaking of victory, the Victory Station is celebrating 35 anniversary during their scholarship banquet taking place. Listen, it's in 2 weeks, Friday, November 15th at 7:00 p.m. at Deerwood Castle. Yes, castles, kings and queens, princes and princesses. This is your time to take out those gowns, take out those after 5 attire, and come and celebrate with us what God has done at the Victory Station with special guest Bishop Marvin L. Winans and a plethora of other local celebrities. So join us for a night of celebration, inspiration, and the proceeds will benefit the Victory Scholarship Foundation. So if you need tickets, hey, you can come up here to the studio right now. We have tickets here in the studio, or if you need more information, you can call us at 904-766-9285 and 904-766-3401. And speaking of victory, things that we have overcome, things that we have worked through, we are joined today in the studio with none other than Tavares Bethel, who is the podcast host of The Slide, an incredible podcast that is really geared towards supporting veterans and showing them what they can do here in the community. And off air, Tavares was sharing just a powerful testimony of just his level of faith and not falling into the trap of underselling his potential and things that he's able to transfer from the military into civilian life. So if you can share with us what you just shared off air, and he is an author. He's going to talk about some of the books that he has available right now.
Well, kind of like we were sharing before, as I was preparing to exit the military and I was being mentored by the Soldier for Life Transition Assistance program, when the woman told me that I could only earn $50,000, I was set on being able to earn more. But it was a very, very dark period in my career. You know, I had been in the military. Now we're talking about 20 years worth of military service, and that uncertainty about what would happen next can lead to a little bit of despair. So as I found myself sitting, meditating, praying, trying to chart the way forward, and if I may start there, right? Mind, the power of our mind, the power of our faith, and the power of our focus. We have to be able to clear away all of the distractions, all of those voices in our head that create and produce doubt. You have to be able to still those voices in order to be able to hear that internal guidance that is going to come to you to kind of let you know where to move, that indwelling Spirit of God. All right, so I was sitting on my couch and I was just trying to figure it out. And me, I love to hear powerful speakers. And as I was floating through my TV, I ran across Joel Osteen, and I happen to like Joel Osteen. You know, if I'm driving a trip out of town, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, I ride with Joe.
And that voice, he has that voice too.
I love the jokes.
The jokes too.
Yeah, I love the jokes. But anyway, so as I was sitting there, I wasn't in a joking period of time. I was in a rather serious period of time, and I was listening to Joel Osteen. He was articulating the story of the experience that took place between Jesus and Simon Peter, where after preaching, Jesus asked Simon Peter to take his boat out to the deep and cast his net. To which Joel stated that Simon Peter could have he could have given rebuttal for that recommendation because he was a fisherman.
Right.
He knew better.
He felt he knew better.
He felt he knew better.
Informed.
He was more informed. But he said, but based on your word, I'm going to follow your guidance. And so you know, to come back to the original point, Joel Osteen said what the problem that I was having was that I was seeking a blessing far too small. I needed to request a net bursting blessing.
Come on.
At that moment, I jumped up off of my couch and I ran down to my computer and I began to only apply for jobs that would pay in excess of my target goal. Right? It was no sense in wasting a person's or interviewer's time for a job that I knew I had no intention on taking. I wanted to be able to request that thing that would make a move in my life, and I wanted to be able to see it. And when I began to request the thing that it took, that was larger than what I could anticipate, it gave me an opportunity to see the universal alignment and the power of God moving in my life because I had no idea what would come next. I only had a desire of faith. But what I also did was ensure that I sent the resumes, continue to send the resumes, update the resumes, do the work.
Faith without works is dead.
It's dead. Within inside of 6 days, I was receiving a call from an Amazon recruiter setting up an appointment. 30 days later, I was on board and I was in the city of Jacksonville, Florida. One time for Jeff Bezos and Andy Jassy for helping your boy secure a job that would allow me to take care of my family. And I'm not going to talk numbers or nothing like that because, you know, we don't say these things to gloat or to boast, right? But what we want to do is inspire an individual that don't believe in themselves. Do you know that in America, women, particularly black women, don't apply for jobs at a rate of 57%? Jobs that they're qualified for. They don't apply for 57% of those jobs just based on the speculation that they might not earn it or get it because they don't feel that they're qualified and you're overqualified for the position. No more.
We going for it. Listen, the hashtag net bursting blessings.
Come on, man.
Hashtag net bursting blessings. You're asking too small.
Right.
It's time to multiply. Okay.
Right.
We gotta make sure that the blessings that we're requesting, we know that number one, we can only give credit to God. And it's a witness for others to see the ability that God has, not only for our lives, but for the lives of others. And in talking about what God has done in your life, which is so incredible, so inspiring, I, as a civilian, know veterans. We see veterans. And there are things that, you know, we want to do to be able to help and to support because we're grateful for the service and the life they gave for our freedom and for our security. And so we talked about just practical things that we do. And yes, we see the food banks and we see some of the different expos and things like that. But what are some other things that we can do to encourage and maybe even try to light that fire that was lit in you so that they know that life is not over. This is another side of their life that they can live in abundance of that life because of what they were able to obtain skill-wise, experience-wise, even though they may have succumbed to some PTSD trauma, things like that. What are some things that we can do to adequately empower them?
Yes, that's an excellent question. A part of the culture of the military is a paragraph or words that we recite called the Soldier's Creed. And I won't say the entire Soldier's Creed, but it simply says, I'm an American soldier. I'm a warrior and a member of a team. I serve the people of the United States and I live the Army values. So when an individual says, thank you for your service, right? For me, what I realize is that in the military, sometimes we see generals and we think that the general is important. The general isn't as important as the private. The general serves the next level leader, but the private or the young soldier serves the people of the United States. The people of the United States, that is the goal for service for the for citizens or soldiers in the United States military. So now those individuals in our service, sometimes we experience things that aren't the best experience, right? We know that this war, every war has a different sickness, but the war that we've been trapped in for, since 2000, 2001, the war on terror, post-traumatic stress disorder is the order of the day for that particular conflict. Right. But there's a educator, a beautiful woman, Dr. Joy DeGride. She said for every instance of post-traumatic stress, there's a period of time called post-traumatic growth. But it is how we condition ourselves or position ourselves mentally towards the experience that we're having. So we can see the experience as a terrible thing or a catastrophic event, or we can look at it as an amazing opportunity to achieve superior results. It's about how you choose to view it.
Yeah,
so
perspective.
Perspective. So now for me as a service member, when we helped stand up the Wounded Warrior program in Washington, D.C. in 2007, I was very, very concerned because the individuals who were coming to Walter Reed Army Medical Center had experienced things like losses of legs and arms. And I saw a gentleman had 25% of his skull removed because he had experienced an IED.
Wow.
Simultaneously, I was conducting an escort for the USARA, or the European Command General, Major General Ham at the time. And he walked through the halls of Walter Reed Army Medical Center. And he just kept on telling me, there are angels in these halls. There are angels in these halls. And so I'm a more natural person, right? So I'm not given to certain types of spirituality, but he kept on saying there's angels in these halls. There's angels in these halls. After we concluded our visit, I was back visiting some of the patients that was on my slate for that particular day, and I saw a nurse helping a service member learn how to walk again.
Wow.
There are angels in those halls.
Yes.
Yes. So now the way that you help a service member, what I learned during that experience is that you do not so much as pay attention to what they're suffering from.
Right.
Right. They have been trained to endure. So you have to tap into that. Right. If you give too much, right, you stunt their ability to overcome. And that is the thing that makes the soldier who the soldier is.
Right.
Don't take away the grind out of the soldier. Don't let the soldier grind. Right. You understand?
Almost like sometimes, I hear you. I feel like I'm hearing the tone here. Thank you for your service. Almost sounds resolute. Not to say we shouldn't say it, but we should speak to the progress that continues to happen after that level of service. Thank you for your service and how you're serving now. Thank you for your service and how you're moving forward now. Especially for that person who may seem to kind of be stuck in, oh, I did this and I did that, but what are you doing? What is the active? What is the present progressive now that is happening, as opposed to just stunting and stopping at that 21 and that's it?
Yeah, it's the creation of vehicles that allow a person to continue to use their skills.
Yeah.
I think for me, working for Amazon gives me the ability as a military leader, because Amazon's culture is so much like the military. It gave me a place where I could come.
Yeah.
But the rules inside of the place are such that it doesn't allow me to be excessively military. Right? Because when I
that's civilian.
yes.
Relatable.
If you want to continue to get paid.
Yes.
Right? I was running through that one day when I first got there. I was like, you go here, you go here, you
Who
go
you talking
here.
to?
And I came back and I was like, well, the people that I just got to go get this training, they said you didn't ask them if they would like to participate in that training.
They have a choice.
That was a shock for me.
Yeah.
They have a choice. In the military, you don't have a choice.
Right.
Is you do what I say or you go to jail. Right. So now that is because I only got a couple of things I can use to influence behaviors, rewards and punishments. Right now, as a leader, what I sought to do is be as normal as possible, so that I don't have to be able. I don't want to threaten individuals.
Right.
Like in the book of Habakkuk, it said, God came from Teman and the Holy One from Mount Paran. That's Habakkuk 3:3, and there were horns coming out of his hands, and there was the hiding of his power. So I understand that I got power as a leader in the military, but I don't want to come and impose that power on your life. I want you to be able to freely do the things that I'm asking, because I want you to be able to benefit from the experience and the growth like I did by accepting it, owning it, and then internalizing it.
That's what I was going to say. You have the ownership, and when you take that ownership, you have now the free will and the desire to want to go ahead and walk through that.
Yes.
So good. We're going to take one more break. Man, that hour will go by so quick. Man, when the conversation is so rich, that time just be flying. So we're going to hear another victory song. But let's hear, and this is my day, y'all, Winning. Okay? Because we are winning today by Pastor Mike Jr. You're winners out there. This is so good, because when you come into, contact with a veteran, a person that's military, and you do kind of see those behaviors, the conversation, it's so good because I feel empowered to even bring that to their attention. Okay, we're not in the military anymore. That particular tone, it resonates differently on this side of civilian life as it would in the military. Because sometimes, and I actually had this. I was a teacher. I was a high school teacher for many years. So I transitioned from being a high school teacher to being a speech therapist. So I'm in the hospital working with, ages, 3 months to 90 years old. And then I go into a therapy room and I'm talking to a patient who's 70 years old and I'm speaking to her like a student. And she's like, and I didn't realize what I was doing. And my supervisor told me, she said, yeah, you need to change your tone. You're talking to them like they're a child. You're talking to them like they're, and I'm like, I didn't know that. Because when you've been in a role for so long, you think it's so normal. So until a person brings it to their attention, they're like, oh, and of course that willingness to want to switch because you want to be successful in that new role, it's empowering. So that's good for those who, have transitioned into the civilian life and they have some of those characteristics. Be like, hey, switch this up just a little bit. It's good, but in this setting, it's a bit much. It's a bit much. So when we come back, we'll highlight some of your books, and then let's talk about some specific organizations that our viewers or our listeners can kind of tap into, and maybe even forward to veterans who can benefit from those services. And then we'll get some contact information on how people can follow you and, get to your podcast, and because we only have 15 more minutes. But this has been incredible, man.
Thank you.
This has been a very empowering conversation, very, very enlightening, and encouraging, just very encouraging, because again, sometimes we'll just leave people and even ourselves will just stay in that state, and it's like, no, as long as we're still breathing, we owe it to ourselves, to those around us, to continue to reach for more, to reach for our maximum capacity of what this dash means. Because we don't know when the dash will end. So you have your podcast today, right?
No,
not today.
No, not today.
Not today.
So I'm done with my season of recording.
Oh, okay.
And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transition into some content specifically about the book, breaking down the principles, and that's what we'll do for maybe the next 5.
For the 6 figure. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And once we go from there, then we'll enter into a new season of recording, with bringing back some of those guests that we had. So I got to bring you back.
Hey, it's like 4 that will be there. How many episodes do you do?
About 9.
9. Okay.
About 9. That's what it's in. I think 9 will be what it is.
Yeah.
Right. So I said that 9. So this will be about 5, and then I'll go back and I'll do 9 again.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
I like
It's exciting. So,
it is. Yeah. Information is power.
Because it's like it's our time now. It's our time to develop into who we have the ability to become, right? And all it requires is some belief and some hard work. We like to say at the nonprofit that we established in the city of Killeen, Texas, our formula was consistency over time equals progress. Right? So that's say Pythagoras ain't got a corner on that. He A squared plus B squared equals C squared.
Yes.
But they say Tavares Bethel that C over T equals P.
Yeah. Right? and I was my vocal coach yesterday. She was telling me consistency is currency. That consistency pays.
Yeah.
It pays off.
Yeah.
So that's the word. Consistency. When you don't feel it, keep doing it.
Yeah.
The quality of what we continue to do may change as life's experiences and things happen, but keep doing it.
Yeah.
Just keep showing up.
Yeah.
Keep giving what you have. The best changes, but just continuing to do it every day. We will see that pay off.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah,
it's showing up in my life. All right, and I think that we just starting to draw the net out of the water now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Come on.
Hey,
I love that.
The job wasn't a bursting blessing. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. So net bursting blessings, post-traumatic growth. What was the lady's name again?
Dr. Joy DeGruy.
Dr.
Joy White Gruy, G-R-U-Y.
G-R-U-Y.
Dr. Jason Gruy.
I gotta look her up. That
Joy Gruy, D-E-G-R-U,
Oh,
D-E, the Gruy, yep.
De Gruy.
Yeah, she is profound. I sat there and I was like, oh my God. So
it's all perspective. It's like we can control that.
Yeah, I can control my perspective. What it did, it made me go back and review every trauma as far back as I could remember.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it helped me understand me so much more when I looked at it from a positive perspective. Right? Even those individuals that, you know, in my life that created some traumas, I was able to see them differently.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so if we can unlock the trauma, then we can unlock the potential. The trauma is
not being afraid to go there.
Come on.
Because that's the thing. It's the fear of, I don't want to relive it, but you have to Winning by Pastor Mike Jr. on this Saturday, November 2nd. This beautiful day here in Jacksonville, Florida. We are joined in the studio audience with Tavares Bethel, a former military and current veteran. Again, we have been being informed about how to make that transition from military life to civilian life, how we can empower our veteran friends and family members to know that life does not stop now, that post-traumatic growth is available, that they can grow through what they have went through. And so Tavares, go ahead and tell us, he has these books here in front, 3 books, okay? He's going to talk about what books he's authored, and he's also going to give us some practical resources that we can benefit from by sharing to our veteran friends and family.
Yes, well, you know, coming out of that situation, wanting to be able to capture that information, and I would be remiss if I didn't, you know, give a lot of praise and thanks to my co-author, Miss Sandy Johnson, because for years people told me, you know, Tavares write a book, and sometimes people do things because they believe they have something to say, or they believe that can impact life at such a. I don't have that kind of pride. I don't have that kind of ego. My mind isn't set up like that. I had a mentor that told me, he said, it's only 3 things you can do. He said, you can only teach what you know, bear witness to what you've seen, and testify to what you have been through. And so I know nothing. I'm a student, right? And I ain't seen nothing. I ain't snitching. But what I've been through, right, is captured in this book, how to become a 6-figure earner. And again, when we hear people throw those numbers out there, 6 figures, only 18% of people in America or households in America earn 6-figure or greater salaries. Now, a 6-figure income isn't the end of the world. It's the beginning of opportunity to be able to take care of your family. And so that's a decent goal, right? And it's not a big number. We hit 6 figures. A person who may currently be earning $47,000 a year, you hit $100,000, and you may think that that's a large gap. It's only $53,000 worth of a gap that you're trying to close, and it's plenty of ways in order to do it based on things that you're doing right now. If your desire is to take care of your family better, then what we have to be able to do is to set our minds and then start that process of taking in the collective data required in order to inform our decisions. Right? You can get the book from sixfigureboss.com. That's our website, sixfigureboss.com. And you can also connect with us there at sixfigureboss.com. So that's one of our books. I also brought a book for you that was authored by my co-author. My mama always told me. Yes, I definitely want to be able to allow you to have these things. I think it's a wonderful book about childhood trauma, definitely written to benefit young women. And then the final book that we brought here today, which is one of the ones I'm most satisfied and happiest about, is The Legend of the Black Wizard. Now, I shared this book with a lot of individuals, and I understand that this is a Christian radio station, and when people hear wizards, they start thinking witches and warlocks, and I promise you.
And we on the hills of Halloween. Wait a minute.
Hey,
the blood of Jesus. No.
I promise you that a black wizard is a person that is too short to play basketball, not fast enough or strong enough to play football, but still has a desire to be something amazing. A wizard is a straight A student.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's our kids that's in science, math, engineering, technology, right? They are wizards. A child that has the ability to endure the vicissitudes of life presented by the Duval County Public School System and grow up from the trenches of Jacksonville and still come out with a right mind and a desire to do better. That is what the purpose of this book. You know, just like we grew up on Dr. Seuss, it's a book full of positive affirmations for kids, filled with activities to stimulate their minds, to move them towards learning. All right, and that's what we want to do. Shout out one time to Dr. Nashawn Nix, who had the opportunity to read the book, view the book, and he's championing the book, trying to help us get this book into the hands of our children. If we can begin the process of putting the words in their mind, and I ain't got to tell nobody at a Christian radio station that in the beginning was the word.
Let me tell you something. My daughter is 3 years old. Okay, we started this I guess about a year ago when she really started being able to imitate and talk. We do daily affirmations. And I found myself saying, wait a minute, mama, you need to really grab hold of these affirmations as well. And we kind of add body movements to it. So we say, I am strong. And we do this, I am strong. Yeah. I am beautiful. I am beautiful. I am smart. I am smart. I am brave. Right. I am a child of God. I am. And you say your name. And it's just that empowerment. So she knows early what is the weapon or what is the tool that she can use to combat the lie, to combat the negativity, to be able to combat whatever that situation that may be challenging who she is. And it's these types of books and this type of instruction, yes, that we should not neglect how early we should do it, because it becomes something that's so habitual and a part of their everyday life and our everyday life as well. The ones that are really institutionalizing this into their minds, we ourselves have to be the recipients of that as well, so that they can see that particular model in us. Just one more encouragement, and just bragging on my baby. It was one morning she came into the room just randomly and she said, Mama, I'm proud of you. I said, what did you say? And she said, Mama, I'm proud of you. I said, thank you. You're welcome. And just ran out the room. And I said, Lord, thank you. Because I say that to her all the time. With every big, small thing, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. So being able to have books like this, being intentional with our children at a young age, even being intentional with our veterans, letting them know, I'm proud of you. I'm strong. I'm brave. I'm capable. I can accomplish this particular goal. That way we can kind of change our mindset, neuroplasticity, whatever is in the mind, we can still reshape it. It doesn't get too late for us to be able to shift our way of thinking when it comes to those types of changes. What are some closing thoughts that you can give to some of the veterans out there? Words of encouragement. Somebody right now may feel like, you know what, I'm just collecting my Social Security, I'm just collecting my pension, and we just gonna kind of live these days mediocrity, in mediocrity, not moving forward. What is something that you can do just to kind of empower them and encourage them?
So what I would like to say to my battle buddies and individuals who have served in the United States military, during our 10 years of service, every organization has a chaplain, right? And the chaplain may not necessarily be your religious denomination, but it's the individual charged with providing you with spiritual guidance. So there is really not a heavy focus on spiritual cultivation in the military outside of esprit de corps or the spirit of the corps that allows us to get things done. So now you got 0.46% of those individuals in this country that experience the military service, but our perception of spirituality is skewed because of our experiences. So now when you grow up in an environment, you took thou shalt not kill, and then you see death, right? You understand that everything that I learned in this religious institution is being challenged right now, and I am the hand by which these things are occurring. It creates a lot of conflict, internal conflict. So now there are a lot of organizations that I could refer, but here in the city of Jacksonville, I will refer one, and I'll give out some general guidance. All right, so we know that we have the Clara White Mission downtown, and I know that the Clara White Mission have been much assaulted for things that have taken place. We as young leaders, we have the right to make mistakes and improve. If you have the ability or you see something, do something, say something, help. Don't be so critical when individuals are having difficult times, because the desire and the heart is that I've been to that, I've been down and visited that organization. It's a wonderful organization, wonderful mission. Shout out to Councilwoman Jacoby Pittman. All right. So now what I would recommend to my battle buddies, you don't need a whole bunch of programs. You don't need a whole bunch of people to take away the pain. What you must do is find you an institution, whether it's roller skating, find a church, find a mosque, find a synagogue, find someone who can attend to your spiritual development to allow you to shave off the trauma that will allow that investment that the people of the United States of America made in you. Upwards close to $100,000 per individual invested in cultivating the ability of that individual to function independently as a mechanism for war. But the same way that you function as a mechanism for war, you can function as a mechanism for the building and the establishment of the kingdom of God.
Amen.
And that's my personal belief, right? So find you someone, find someone, man, woman, other, that can pour into your spirit and that can bring you back, right? But you gotta want to come back. And what you can't do, so last thing I'll say is the warrior ethos. I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. Those are the warrior ethos. But the last one, I will never leave a fallen comrade, is predicated on you being able to place the mission first, never accept defeat, and never quit.
Yeah.
So as you walk around right now looking for a place to stay, ask yourself, have you quit? As you're walking around right now asking somebody to attend to your hunger and produce food for you, have you placed the mission first? Have you accepted defeat?
Y'all hear the soldier rising up?
Hey, let's go. Hey, let's fall in, receive the report.
Yes, thank you. So I love the passion. I love the information. I love how strategic you have been today in this segment, the information. Those of us, again, who have family, friends, loved ones, hopefully this has been informative and encouraging for you to know how you can better support them, because they matter. You have to know that your life still matters. Your time still matters. Your contribution to our society and our community, it still matters. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
How can people find you on social media? Or
with a slide on social media, most platforms. If you look up on Instagram with the slide.8, on YouTube with the slide, on the slide podcast on 95, on Facebook. Or you can visit the Mixed Theory Studio platform and you can find our podcast there, which is my preferred destination. So that way we can tabulate the data. We want to know how many people we're reaching, how many people we're impacting, because we want to be strategic in how we move in this next season, because it's time for organization. It's time for our community to build, grow, and be developed. And unlike other communities, we don't necessarily have the systems for in the low socioeconomic demographic, particularly the black community, for individuals with that level of military excellence to come back. We need to develop corporations. We need to develop institutions that will allow those individuals to come back and pay forward those gifts that they got from their military experience.
Yes. Well, we thank you so much for being with us today. And we thank all of you listeners out there via the radio waves, and those of you who were logged in on Facebook watching us live. Hopefully this was an inspiring and an encouraging segment on how we can better support our veterans. And again, thank you for your service, and thank you for listening to the In the Know radio show that takes place every Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. on the Victory Station. You can follow me at Michellita at Michellita_Taylor, or you can go to my website at tailormadevoices.com. Have an incredible day. Hey, and remember, net bursting blessings. We'll see you next week. God bless. Yay, that was dynamic. Very dynamic. Very informative, man. Thank you so much. I've gone to the Claire White mission. I did a story. It's been some years back. It's actually when I first met Councilwoman Jacoby Pittman, and just to see the work that they've done and what they've been able to create down there is incredible. And yeah, it is unfortunate things that do happen whenever it is a service that has been given to the community, and balls are sometimes dropped. But it's the overall big picture of the impact that we need to focus on. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Markello, for staying on all of this whole segment. Thank you for your support, and we will see you guys next week. Say bye, Tavares.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
This is a place to be. Turn your radio station to Victory, where the Spirit of the Lord is liberty. Tune in to the station that set you free. We going up right now. Please tune in, don't touch that dial. We so blessed that you wanna know how. Not talking, we just living out loud.